Eliza Carter never meant to linger in the house her parents left her. It was a simple, weathered place gray, clapboard siding, a sagging front porch, and a lawn choked with crabgrass and dandelions that seemed to mock her every attempt at taming them. Tucked at the end of a sleepy cul-de-sac in a Virginia suburb, the place was just far enough from the city to feel like a retreat, but close enough for pizza deliveries and ambulance calls. 6 months after her dad passed, Eliza, a logistics manager glued to her laptop in a cramped Richmond apartment, drove down to sort through the mess sign papers, cut off the utilities, and slap a for sale sign out front. But something about the house held her. The creak of the back door, the way sunlight spilled across the kitchen counter in the late afternoon sit, was like the place was whispering for her to stay. 2 months later, she was still there, answering emails in the mornings and wrestling with the yard in the afternoons, finding a strange comfort in the dirt under her nails. It was one of those early spring days, the air still crisp when everything changed. Eliza was crouched by the northern fence, old jeans caked with mud, gloved hands ripping out a snarl of ivy that had crept along the edge where her property met the land of her neighbors, the Warrens. The Warrens had lived next door since Eliza was a kid, though she barely remembered them beyond a few stiff hellos. Now in their late 60s, retired and perpetually tanned, Tom and Diane Warren were fixtures on the block. Diane, especially, was always out there clipping perfectly trimmed hedges, bossing delivery drivers, rearranging her army of lawn gnomes like she was staging a suburban battlefield. Eliza had caught her VYB early, the kind of person who thought she owned the whole street. They'd exchanged waves, nothing more, but Eliza felt the weight of Diane's stare every time she stepped outside. That Tuesday, Eliza was prying up half-buried bricks remnants of some long-forgotten garden when a county patrol car rolled up, slow and deliberate. No sirens, but all business. 2 officers stepped out, hands on their belts, calm but watchful. The taller one, sunglasses perched on his balding head, spoke first. "Ma'am, we got a call about suspicious active VY here. Mind if we talk?" Eliza froze, her garden spade still in hand, dirt smudged across her forehead. "This is my property," she said, standing slowly. "I'm just pulling weeds." "What's this about?" The officers glanced at each other. Neighbor reported digging near their land, maybe MOVYing property markers. They're worried about boundary tampering. Eliza almost laughed, but the absurdity stung. She gestured at the patchy dirt. "I'm clearing brush. The markers are right there untouched. Go look." They did, strolling the fence line, jotting notes. "Looks fine," the taller one said. "Just doing our job. Sorry for the bother." But before they left, he lowered his glasses. "Word of ad VYC. This isn't the first time your neighbors called us. Your dad had a run-in with them a while back over the same thing." Eliza stood there long after the cruiser pulled away, staring at the rickety fence, then down at the ground. She wasn't mad, not yet. She was tired, like she'd just been handed a fight she didn't ask for. Diane's territorial streak was OBVY us, but calling the cops over a little weeding? That was a power move, cold and calculated. That night, Eliza dug through her dad's old files, buried under stacks of tax forms and faded receipts. There it was, a survey map, notarized and county stamped, showing the Carter property line with crystal clarity. The fence Diane treated as gospel sat 6 feet inside Eliza's land. That strip of grass Diane had dolled up with flowers and solar lights. The extra gravel where she parked her SUV, even the VY nest crawling up her gaytall of it, was Eliza's, legally. Sleep didn't come easy. It wasn't about starting a war. It was about what kind of war this would be. Diane hadn't called the cops out of fear. She'd done it to say, "This is mine, and you'll back off." Eliza wasn't naive, but she wasn't a pushover either. She worked in logistics systems, paperwork, and escalation were her bread and butter. By morning, she'd made her move. A licensed surveyor was booked, and a contractor was on speed dial to price out a temporary trench to mark the line. She didn't want a feud. She wanted it done right. The surveyor, a quiet guy named Jim Holt, showed up a few days later, all business with his laser level and GPS gear. For 3 hours, he worked the yard, planting stakes and checking coordinates while Eliza watched from the kitchen, half expecting Diane to storm out. She didn't. Jim's report confirmed it. The Warrens had taken 1.5 meters of Eliza's land. No permits, no legal claim, just decades of unchallenged use. That evening, Eliza strung twine between the stakisa, subtle line, not a taunt. By 6:30 the next morning, she was sipping coffee when she heard a metallic clank. Barefoot, she stepped outside to see Diane, still in her bathrobe, smashing a steak with a garden hoe. Their eyes locked, Diane's mouth a tight line, before she turned and marched back to her house. Eliza didn't shout. She snapped a photo, replaced the steak, and kept her cool. Then the Warrens upped the ante. A code enforcement officer showed up, clipboard in hand, claiming reports of unpermitted excavation, threatening their garage foundation. Eliza handed him the survey, Jim's certification, and her contractor's notes. He skimmed them, clearly annoyed. "You've done your homework," he muttered, Leah vying with a warning about future complaints. That night, Eliza caught Diane pacing the fence with a flashlight, pretending to search for something but really watching. Eliza didn't bite. She mailed the Warrens a certified letter, polite and factual, enclosing the survey as a courtesy update. Diane stopped vying after that. Tom started appearing more, checking his gate obsessively, his face drawn. The air grew heavy, like a storm was brewing. The turning point came with a landscaping truck delivering gravel and timber for Eliza's trench-a-shallow, legal drainage feature to mark the boundary. Diane was outside in seconds, arms crossed, voice carrying. "What's this mess, Eliza? You better have permits, or you'll be paying for any damage to our yard." Eliza stayed silent pizza. No han zai artifact underscore ID bang. 6F4A6B457 artifact ID bang. Head 340 title bang. Neighbor boundary dispute story. Content type bang. Text/plain. Lan Han, silent, handed the foreman her plans and locked her door. 2 days later, a letter from the Warrens' lawyer was taped to her door, accusing her of malicious obstruction and threatening a lawsuit. Eliza didn't flinch. She hired Sarah Nguyen, a boundary dispute attorney who saw through the Warrens' bluster. "They're scared," Sarah said. "They know they're wrong, but they think you'll cave." The trench went in the next day, clean and precise, cutting off the Warrens' shortcut and reclaiming Eliza's land. Tom watched from the garage. Diane stayed inside. The silence was louder than any shouting match. But the Warrens didn't quit. Sprinklers started soaking Eliza's side of the trench every morning, a petty jab. Her compost bins were tipped over, contents dumped methodically, no animal tracks, just intent. Diane's garden mornings with neighbors turned into smear campaigns, painting Eliza as an entitled outsider. A petition circulated, calling her a disruptive presence. Then came the glass-jagged window pane, shards left near her gate, too deliberate to be random. Eliza called the police, who logged it as suspicious, but couldn't prove anything. She installed floodlights and cloud-streaming cameras, turning her yard into a fortress of evidence. When a shady utility inspector showed up claiming easement issues, Eliza smelled a rat. His ID was fake, his company non-existent. She photographed him, sent him packing, and filed a complaint with the city. The Warrens' boldest move was a real estate investor knocking on Eliza's door, offering cash to buy her out before things get messy. She shut him down, sensing Diane's hand behind it. Enough was enough. With Sarah, Eliza filed a civil suit not just against the Warrens but against their pattern of harassment, backed by months of logs, photos, and videos. The hearing was no spectacle, just a gray courthouse room where truth outweighed charm. Sarah laid out the evidence, surveys, engineer reports, footage of Diane dumping trash. The Warrens' lawyer leaned on community tradition, but the judge wasn't buying it. "Show me a statute where routine trumps a title," he said. He ruled for Eliza, banning the Warrens from nearing the trench and dismissing their claims. Diane's face crumpled, not in anger but in defeat. 2 days later, MOVYing truck pulled into the Warrens' driveway. No neighbors helped. Diane, in plain clothes, avoided Eliza's gaze as she carried boxes. Tom followed, clutching a potted plant. Their house went up for sale, polished and empty. New neighbors, a quiet older couple, moved in, unaware of the war that had raged. Eliza left them a survey map and a welcome note, closing the chapter. She rebuilt her fence, planted grasses along the trench, and boxed her files, storing them high. The house wasn't just inherited Anna Maria, it was hers. Earned through a fight she hadn't wanted but wouldn't lose. Neighbors still whispered, some avoided her, but others nodded with grudging respect. Eliza didn't care. She'd drawn her line, and it held. That night, sitting on her porch with iced tea, Eliza traced the trench with her eyes. It wasn't about dirt. It was about space, about standing firm when someone tried to blur your edges. The Warrens hadn't just wanted land, they'd wanted control, to wear her down until she broke. They'd failed, not because she was louder, but because she was unshakable, her silence a weapon sharper than any scream. The trench stood, not a scar, but a promise. Her ground, her rules, her peace. What do you think? Did Eliza go too far, or was she right to dig in? Should she have tried talking to Diane first, or was the trench the only way to stop a bully? Have you ever had a neighbor cross a line like this? Drop your thoughts below. Hit that like button if this story got you fired up, and subscribe for more real-life dramas that'll keep you hooked.